Have you ever been there? You've given someone chance after chance. You've soaked up the subtle insults, the broken promises, and the completely one-sided conversations. You've poured every ounce of your empathy into a relationship that only seems to drain you, just hoping that one day they'll get it. You've waited and waited, and then something inside you just shifts. The connection is gone. That storm of emotions you used to feel the frustration, the hurt, the disappointment is suddenly replaced by a quiet, almost unnerving calm. The door to that person is closed, and it's locked. If you know what I'm talking about, you've experienced the infamous INFJ door slam. It's one of the most misunderstood traits of the INFJ personality type. To the person on the other side, it feels like a cold, brutal, and shocking betrayal. But to the INFJ who does it, it often feels like the only way to survive. So, which one is it? Is the door slam a necessary act of self-preservation to escape a toxic dynamic, or is it a dramatic overreaction that leaves a trail of destruction? Today, we're going to get to the bottom of what is really happening behind one of the most intense and final acts in the INFJ emotional toolkit. So before we decide if it's fair or not, we have to get what it actually is now. The term door slam is a metaphor you won't find it in a clinical textbook, but it has a name that has stuck around in personality circles because it so perfectly describes the act of an INFJ abruptly and permanently cutting someone out of their life. This isn't your average ghosting, which is usually about ducking out of a difficult conversation with someone you barely know. The door slam is almost always reserved for major relationships, friends, family, or partners where a real connection once existed. From the outside, it looks absolutely merciless. One day, the INFJ is your biggest supporter, a patient listening ear. Next, they're just gone. Texts go unanswered, calls go to voicemail, and if they can't physically get away from the person, like a co-worker or a close relative, they'll do an emotional door slam. They'll stay polite and civil, but all that warmth and emotional investment is gone, leaving a hollow, professional shell where a relationship used to be, for the person who's been shut out. This sudden switch is confusing and incredibly painful. They're left wondering what on earth they did to deserve something so extreme, and it often feels like it came out of nowhere. This feeling that the reaction is completely out of proportion is exactly why the door slam is so controversial. But here's the secret, the key to understanding. It isn't the slam itself. It's the long, quiet, and painful story that came before it. If we want to figure out if this is a justified act of self-defense or just a massive overreaction, we have to look at what's happening before the door ever slams. The INFJ door slam is almost never an impulsive decision. It's the last, desperate act in a long, painful story. An INFJ door slam doesn't happen over one single fight. It happens after hundreds of tiny paper cuts. INFJs are known for their deep empathy and almost superhuman patience. They give people way more chances than they probably should, and they'll put up with long periods of unhappiness, always hoping things will get better. Think of it like one of those thick steel cables holding up a bridge. Every broken promise, every time they're taken for granted. Every dismissive comment is one tiny wire in that cable snapping. For a long time, the cable holds, but it's getting weaker. The door slam is the moment the very last wire breaks, and the whole bridge just collapses. It looks sudden from the outside, but the structure was failing for months or even years. INFJs build their lives on a rock-solid foundation of core values, things like authenticity, trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. These aren't just preferences. They are essential for an INFJ to feel safe in any relationship. A door slam is often triggered when someone repeatedly stomps all over these core principles. It's not just about hurt feelings. It is the crushing realization that the other person's character is fundamentally incompatible with their own. When an INFJ decides that someone is just incapable of being honest or loyal, the relationship loses its entire foundation in their eyes. I'm really curious to hear from you on this one. If you're an INFJ, have you ever felt that slow burn, that erosion of trust leading to a door slam? And if you've been on the receiving end when you look back, can you see the warning signs now? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might bring a lot of clarity to someone else going through the same thing. Contrary to how it looks, the door slam is an absolute last resort. Before an INFJ ever gets to that point, they have almost certainly tried to fix things in quieter, less direct ways. They've tried to explain their feelings, only to be told they're too sensitive. They've tried setting boundaries, only to watch them get ignored. They've pulled back a little, hoping the other person might notice and care enough to ask, "What's wrong?" The door slam is what happens when all of these quieter attempts to solve the problem have failed. It's the response to the soul-crushing realization that the other person just won't listen. This is the absolute tipping point. After pouring so much energy into saving the relationship, the INFJ's focus finally flips to saving themselves. That powerful empathy, which was a bridge to the other person for so long, now feels like a vulnerability, a doorway for even more pain. And so, it just shuts off. This isn't an act of malice, it's a survival mechanism kicking into high gear. The INFJ's system finally screams, "This is no longer safe." And the only choice left is a complete and total withdrawal to protect their own sanity. But make no mistake, the door slam isn't some clean break. It leaves a scar, not just on the person who was shut out, but on the INFJ, too. For the INFJ, the main feeling isn't triumph. It's usually a confusing mix of powerful relief and a really deep, lingering sadness. There's often a wave of guilt that follows. They might torture themselves with questions like, "Was I too harsh? Did I read it all wrong? Should I have tried just one more time?" The peace they get from cutting out a toxic presence comes at the price of amputating a part of their own life, and that wound can take a very long time to heal. For the person on the other side, the experience is pure shock, confusion, and rejection. It feels sudden and totally disproportionate because they were completely oblivious to the long internal war that led to it. They never saw the frayed cables or the cracked foundation. They only saw the bridge disappear from right under their feet. And then there's the emotional door slam, which can be even more confusing for the person on the other end. This happens in situations where a clean break is impossible, like with a family member or a co-worker. The INFJ is still there physically, but emotionally they've checked out. They'll be polite, professional, and completely unreachable for the other person. It can feel like living with a ghost, a constant, quiet reminder that the connection you once shared is dead and buried. So, this brings us back to the big question. Is the INFJ door slam a necessary self-protection tool or a destructive overreaction? The truth is, it's almost always a mechanism for self-protection, born out of deep and sustained emotional pain. It feels like an overreaction to the person on the outside because they missed the 1,000 tiny cuts that led to the final wound. It is the endpoint of a long line of second chances. However, this doesn't automatically mean it's the healthiest or most mature response in every case. An unhealthy or immature INFJ might slam the door too quickly, based on assumptions instead of trying to communicate clearly. The harsh finality of it can destroy any chance for future growth or healing, especially if the other person was truly unaware of just how much pain the INFJ was in. The most balanced way to see the door slam isn't as an act to be judged, but as a symptom of a relationship that has become critically unhealthy. It's the fire alarm, signaling that the building is already on fire. So at the end of the day, the INFJ door slam isn't really an act of aggression, it's an act of desperation. It's a painful, last-ditch effort to preserve one's mental health when all other attempts at setting boundaries have failed. The real takeaway here isn't about whether the door slam is good or bad. It's about figuring out how to avoid ever getting to that point in the first place. For the INFJs watching, the goal is to learn how to build healthier fences so you never feel forced to build an unbreakable wall. This means learning to state your needs and enforce your boundaries earlier and more clearly, even when it feels terrifyingly uncomfortable. Don't let resentment build up in silence. And for those of you who love an INFJ or work with one, the lesson is to learn to listen to their silence. Understand that when they pull back, it's not a sign of agreement. It's a warning shot. When they do try to tell you that you've hurt them, meet them with real empathy and accountability, not defensiveness. The door slam is almost always preventable if both people are willing to truly value and work on the connection. So what are your final thoughts? Is the door slam a tool to be used wisely, or a destructive habit we should try to avoid at all costs? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if this video helped you understand yourself or someone else a little better, please subscribe and join our community. Thanks for watching.